What's up, everybody? Are you excited? Because you should be. Today is going to be a sweet episode because we are talking cookies. And we're not just talking cookies and something delicious, but we're talking, as always, business, franchising, and the ways to be successful in that world. I am Trevor, your host. Welcome to FranchisOR Bust. Katie, are you in the house?
I am. I'm here to say nothing and laugh at everything.
Perfect. Make sure you do not talk. That's the key to our show. And then today we're very excited to have Bennett Maxwell with us. Bennett Maxwell is the founder and the CEO of Dirty Dough. Bennett, it's awesome to see you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Although I am maybe a little jealous of Katie's role.
Everybody
I'm
is.
good at laughing and not talking.
Well, how do I get paid for this? I don't know.
Robin Quivers has been doing it for years, Katie. You got something to aspire to. But anyways, man, we're really excited to have you. We appreciate you. Your brand is blowing up, and we love to see these kind of success stories and have people on to talk about it. So let's kind of maybe just set the stage. Talk to us a little bit about how Dirty Dough got off the ground. What made you decide as you were leaning into this that getting into the world of franchising was a good idea, and then we'll go from there.
I'm still trying to decide if that's a good idea. So
it can't be the franchisees. There's no way.
Before jumping in, my background was sales. I did a lot of door-to-door sales with a handful of different products, which led me up to a solar company. I grew up in Utah. A guy that I went to high school with moved to Arizona and started Dirty Dough out of his apartment and was selling, kind of saw the cookie boom just starting in Utah. And nobody had made it down to Arizona. So he's like, I want to be the first one there. And he started serving these large gourmet cookies out of his apartment. And he posted on Facebook saying, I wanted an investor to open up the first storefront. So I invested in 2019. He opened the first storefront in March of 2020. I was living in San Diego at the time, and I saw Crumble open up there, and they were crushing it. They did like 3.6 million supposedly. And I'm like, out of one stupid cookie store, like, let's franchise this. I'm going to be your first franchisee. And he's like, no, I don't want, I just want out. So I bought it from him January of 21. And with the idea of franchising it. And the idea was, how do we make this as simple as possible? Kind of, with my sales hat on, what does the market want to buy? And the simplicity is definitely there. And so that first year was kind of revamping the model, sticking with large gourmet cookies, kind of competing with Crumble and these other brands on a consumer front, but mimicking the back-end models for other brands that have been around for decades. Because you kind of always hear, are cookies a fad? Is it frozen yogurt? Is it cupcakes? And we have Mrs. Fields and Great American Cookie Company that both started in 77. So they're almost 5 decades deep into this, and they still have over 300 locations opened each. So they've gone up and they've gone down, but man, they've stood the test of time. And then Insomnia Cookies came on about 21 years ago. And how do they last, that many decades and all the down economies? Well, they've centralized all their production. So you get economies of scale on all of your ingredients. You mix thousands of cookies at a time with large machines, and then you machine portion it, ship it out to your franchisees so that it can be baked fresh on site. Where this new kind of cookie wave, I hadn't seen anybody going that route. Everything else is kind of, here's your recipe, buy your own mixers, hire 50 employees, good luck. So Dirty Dough is a combination of those two models. We take all of that kind of stress and quality control out from the franchisees, and that allows them to open up a lot quicker with, a half, sometimes a third of the cost. You could run a store with one employee at a 600 square feet, just really keeping that break even low. So that was kind of the idea for Dirty Dough. And then we franchised December of 21 and opened our first store in June of 2022. So 20 months ago, and now we're at 60 something stores. We've done a store a week on average over the last 12 months. And that's where I'm like, yeah, is this a good idea? I have no effing idea, but I'm doing it.
There's certainly people out there who think it's a good idea, for sure, man. Congratulations. That's amazing.
Thank you.
Rapid growth. So it's really cool that, you had the vision, you could see where it could go in the franchise space, and now the execution. And now you're kind of in that world of, all right, I'm still emerging, still in the emerging franchise space, but getting all your ducks in a row. What would you say has been one of your like kind of key learnings so far as you've gone from 0 to 60, literally, in
Yeah.
the last couple of years here?
Um, I've no background in not only franchise but food. Like rewind 3 years ago, I didn't know the difference between a franchisee and a franchisor.
Hmm.
So the biggest learning was really recognizing what I don't know and then getting the right people on the bus, right? And it started with advisors, which I didn't know you can have advisors. If you of course it's great to hire top tier talent, but that's also really expensive for a startup. But you can get advisors with decades of experience by giving them a 0.5% or 1% of equity vested over a few years, and now you get to tap into their expertise. And I did hire a CEO actually right when we franchised that. She'd been in the game for 40 years now. She did Maui Wowie smoothies and coffee, Jill Summer Hayes. So I know I was introduced as a CEO, but she's been the CEO, and then we just brought on another CEO and transitioned her over to president. Our new CEO is the former CEO of Jimmy John's, Greg Majewski. So I guess I think due to my background, I do have a knack for the sales side, but I also know that I don't have a knack for these other things, food operations, and hiring those people has been really good. Now, I guess that's the positive learnings. That the negative learnings or the mistakes, it's a lot. Like it's been very fast, and it's all like super exciting. But when you're opening up 50 stores in a year, so this time 12 months ago we had 7 stores. Now we have 63, and we also do food trucks, and we have 13 of those in operation. We have another 40 stores under construction, and it's like, yeah, that was a little too quick, because now we're kind of going back and like, oh man, we're actually going to add this product, but not all of our stores are built out for it. So that's definitely a learning experience. Now on the flip side, our whole model relies on scale and unit economics. So like we've lowered our price per cookie putt to the franchisees by 20% in the first 18 months. Next month is going to come down by another 8%. So, there's kind of pros and cons to everything. And I'm still learning on a day-to-day basis.
Classic kind of entrepreneur story though. I mean,
Yeah.
get in there, go for the win, and you'll figure out the failures as you as you go along. So that's amazing. You mentioned earlier, which I think is really key in the franchise world, uh, having that kind of strong corporate setup to make the barrier to entry for a franchisee very low, and their ability to open and to get open quickly very low as well. Sounds like you guys have established a model there that's by leveraging, kind of technology, if you will, in some ways by the industrialization of it. But really just coming up with a model where the franchisee can get open quickly and start doing what they need to do, which is making money quickly. What other ways have you guys kind of leveraged innovation slash technology, to kind of set your brand up for success? Whereas, like you were mentioning, maybe some other competitors weren't quite in that world yet.
Yeah. I mean, the big part is like from a franchisee, and we've been advertising ourselves. We've sold over 460 franchises in just over 2 years. And it's the ease of franchising or the ease of opening up a store and the operations. I mean, every cookie is formulated to cook at the same time, temperature, and fan speed, and the ovens are programmable. So you put the cookies in, you press start, and there's really nothing else to it to bake the cookie. So very, very simple on that end for the franchisees. But then it's a pain in the ass for us because we have to build a facility,
Hmm.
buy the machines, do all the operations, get all the permits and the different approvals. And also, we have specialized machines. So we do like the world's only 3-layer cookie. It's a peanut butter dough on the outside, a chocolate dough in the middle, and a hot fudge center or something like that. So it allows us to get more unique products to our franchisees, which is again more the benefit to the franchisees. It's a little bit harder for us. And it was a big investment. I mean, we had invested $2 million before we opened up our first store with mistakes and hiring the right team and doing everything, trying to do the best that we can right from the get go.
People often see or hear what you just said. Oh my gosh, 0 to 60, and you got 400, 100 more. They're like, wow, that's amazing. But there's always a story behind that, and
Yeah.
there's purposeful and intentional investment and planning, at the ZOR level to make sure that people are set up for success. Are you guys talk to me a little bit then? So you've set the kind of the franchisees up, low barrier to entry. You've got great product, obviously, that's kind of universally enjoyed. So how else are you then maybe pushing, for the franchisees to become successful in terms of like how they can get engaged in the community, like what marketing efforts you guys employ? I mean, things like that. Or do you have like strategies in place there? Because oftentimes in the emerging phase, that can be something that might get pushed down just because you're focused on so many other things. But where are you guys at with that?
Yeah, the marketing strategy, I mean, to be honest, it's changing all the time, especially in the dessert space, in the food space in the last, 2 years, there has been a pretty big shift. One of the biggest focuses, we have about a dozen corporate stores, which is really nice because we get to kind of test everything. So again, on Friday, we sent out an email and saying, hey, this is the result. Recently, we've pulled back almost all of our spending from Meta, from Facebook and Instagram, and reallocated that to DoorDash, Uber Eats, Grubhub, and here are results. We spent $4,000 and made $16,000 last week on third party, or whatever the numbers were, right. So the third party has been a big key for us, and they're unique in that they don't charge unless there's an order placed. It's not cost per click like Google or Facebook. We have a new program rolling out just next week through a company called Veracast. Anyways, about 2 months ago when we brought on that new CEO, he owns a brand, Craveworthy Brands. So they have another 10 brands or so, and they've been using this platform for quite a while. And he has a lot of people from Fat Brands, and Fat Brands have been using the program. So that's kind of the next tool, but definitely not saying we have it figured out, but having the corporate stores and being able to test and say, hey, this is working, this is not, really helps. And then also something that I've been doing with one of our franchisees / investors, who is a former VP of Domino's, just having those one-on-one conversations with franchisees. So it's not just what's working well in corporate, but it's what's working well for you. Let's extract that and then disseminate that through the organization. So
Yeah.
catering, or I don't know, lots of different other marketing strategy. Like our top franchisee, he'll have weeks that his catering sales are more than the average franchise. And it's like, okay, let's extract that. How are you doing that? And then give that to everybody else.
And that's the beauty of a franchise system. You find out what works and raise everybody up along with it. And I think that's especially for prospective franchisees and folks that are already engaged in your brand. They love that, right? I mean, that's why they bought into a franchise system to begin with, is they want to be a part of something that works, but also have a community around them of folks who are essentially doing the same thing they are, and striving to be successful.
Yeah, absolutely.
So talk to me a little bit then. You mentioned a few bumps in the road and things like that. Did you guys have any trouble on the legal side as you were coming up, or are you
Oh yeah.
you want to address that and let everybody know?
Yeah, it was so our first store opened up in June of 2022. And we got sued in May of 2022. I mean, we didn't have a franchise open. We had one corporate location. We were brand new, and we got a lawsuit from Crumble, which is, is the kind of 800-pound gorilla. And it's like,
Yeah.
shit, what the hell is this about? And I've never been sued. I've never even read a lawsuit, but it's pretty gut wrenching just to hear the news. And then I read through it, and I'm like, okay, this is like, who the hell drafted this? This is silly. And it was kind of like, whatever. A month and a half went by, nothing really happened. We were preparing a response, and then the news picked it up. Crumble sues, a new startup, whatever. And once it was out there, then I was like, okay, well, if it's out there, at least, I want to tell my side of the story. I'm not going to shy away from it. I think this is all BS, and this is why. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right, but kind of here it is. So I was I was absolutely open about everything, and it garnered a lot of support. And we were also pretty lighthearted in May, because we're both headquartered, us and Crumble, like I'm a mile away from each other. A lot of cookie companies are coming out of here in Utah. So we threw up some billboards just, dirty dough coming soon. Crumble's been here for 5 years. They've never thrown up a billboard. The next month they throw up, I'm not even joking, they're spending like 50 to 100 grand a month on billboards. They littered the freeway with billboards. And then the news came out about the lawsuit. So we threw up some billboards back, but making fun of the lawsuit, like cookies so good we're being sued and things like that. And let your taste buds be the judge and a bunch of other things. And that was, it's fun. And I'm sure a lot of people saw it, but I took kind of a screenshot of the 5 different billboards we did and posted online and tagged Crumble. And I said, Crumble, love your billboards. What do you think about mine? And I mean, that got way more views than than what actually the drive-by traffic, and then a lot of news stations. And we were on Good Morning America and a bunch of other CNBC and a bunch of other large news stations, which gave us the eyes and the attention. And people went to our website, who's this cookie company, copying Crumble and also putting sprinkles on their cookies. And then they see that the model's so different, the cookies couldn't be more different. And then they started applying for franchises. And I mean, we sold hundreds of franchises because of it. So
That's amazing.
It was hard, but we made the best of it. It still is very time consuming. We spent a few $100 grand on legal fees. It is all over now, but we collected a few million in franchise fees.
Be bold.
Yeah.
That's the key. And I think you had an advantage there, just coming from kind of a sales background and sales and entrepreneurism are very similar in the sense of like it's on you, like you perform or you don't. And I love that you decided, because there's a lot of folks in your position that have been like kind of not, gone the other way and maybe a little more like,
everybody told me to do that.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of other cookie companies that were getting sued, and then they would reach out to me like, oh, we're also in this. And I'm like, why don't you do anything about it? Why don't you say anything about it? And they're like, oh, I don't want them to be mad. I'm like, are they going to sue you harder?
Right.
You're already getting sued. What do you got to lose? But yeah, that was my strategy. And definitely not everybody else recommended it.
Humor always wins.
What was that?
Humor always wins.
Oh, I thought you said sugar. I was like, yeah, sugar.
And sugar.
It's always wins. Sugar and humor.
Yeah.
It's very similar to when so Adele ripped off a lot of Katie's songs, back in the day. So we had to go after Adele and be like, no, that was a Katie original, and you even sound the same. So yeah,
exactly.
I get it. Yeah, and of course she was just like, that's it. I'm opening a residency in Vegas. You guys, we're done with you. Well, that's amazing. What a cool story that you were able to, not just come through with that tactic or be innovative and things like that, but obviously thrive in where you're at now. So talk a little bit then. So we've established that you've got a phenomenal system. You've got a great, low barrier to entry. You've got great leadership, folks with years of experience building brands, building franchise brands, especially in the food space. You've sold a ton of licenses, which is incredible. What's the next kind of, the next step as you stretch from, all right, we've got 100 locations to 200 to 400. There's a lot of differences, right? Especially in the franchise world and what that looks like and what that means. So give us a little bit of an insight on your thoughts toward the future.
Yeah, everything again is still going back to how do we make this as easy as possible for the franchisee, from baking the cookies to opening up the store, from keeping the costs low, and really setting that infrastructure in place right now. And that's, again, kind of going back why we've hired some good talent, why we have some really good advisors that have decades of experience in the franchising world, because we are wanting to set everything up right now to get us to that, at the 1,000 store mark. So if it's going to work for 50 stores, but not 250 stores, let's find the solution right now for the 250 store mark. So really implementing that. And a big part of that was bringing on, a larger group with decades of experience, which has been challenging to grow so fast because capital needs, especially when you're also owning the food manufacturing side and the logistics, it gets very expensive. And then aside from the expenses, you also have to balance the bandwidth that your team has. So rather than, it's just, you guys know how hard it is to hire the right person, how time consuming it is to vet them, hire them, and then train them on your systems. So bringing in people that have been in the industry for decades in the food franchising space to say, hey, these are the systems that we used in these other 5 brands. Let's try it over here. We could bridge the gap and try to eliminate some of those mistakes. One of the big focuses that we have right now is bringing down the cookie costs to the franchisees as we continue to open those up, as well as we're adding a few products. We want to keep everything very simple. So, I mean, it's cookies and ice cream. We use ice cream as a way to get rid of our day old cookies. So rather than throwing them away, we'll keep them and we'll throw them in a cookie shake, or we'll throw them in a bowl, warm cookie in a bowl with ice cream and then toppings. And the toppings are the same toppings with the cookie. So now we're looking at ice cream sandwiches because we already have the ice cream. We already have the sandwiches, things that we can expand the product line without making it, I guess, more expensive or that much more complicated for the franchisee.
I think that's great. And, as, like you say, kind of as you're looking to the future, it seems like really your goal is more of the same. Build the franchise community quickly, make it easy, do really the job of the franchisor in an excellent way. And that is, how can we set up as many of our franchisees for success as possible? Because their success is yours and vice versa. So, just because you're new to the game, sounds like you've certainly gone the correct route in terms of bringing on experienced folks, and you got a lot of the right stuff going on, man. And that's really exciting.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, we've kind of established a few things here that I think are amazing. Number one, more than anything, how cool it is that you kind of went back at Crumble. I think that's awesome. What a great strategy. And the good fruit that resulted in it. So what else what else have I not asked you about that you feel is pertinent and important to the story of Dirty Dough?
When I exited the solar company, and so I purchased Dirty Dough, I still had my solar company. I was trying to run both of it at the same time. Very hard. Very, very, very hard. So within about 6 months, the opportunity presented itself to sell the solar company, which I did. And I went through a midlife crisis at 29. I'm 31 now. It's about 2 years ago. And I told I was working all the time, nights, weekends. I have an amazing wife, 3 kids, but I put everything aside because it was for work, and it wasn't for me. It was for my wife because, she would rather have a little more money in the bank account than a husband. That's what I told myself. And my kids would rather have more toys than a father. And once I sold the solar company and I reached a lot of those financial goals, I felt great. And that faded to my normal level of baseline happiness, within a few days, a few weeks. And I started falling back into that habit of working nights and weekends at all costs. I just need to get done. Now I just immediately set the next goal. But I caught myself that time. I'm like, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. So as I went full-time into Dirty Dough, I kind of did some soul searching and like, what am I about? I started seeking help. I got a therapist. Like, what is my mission statement? And it was not Dirty Dough's mission statement, but what is Bennett's mission statement? And I narrowed it down to it's what I want out of this life is to find joy and fulfillment. And then I threw in despite life's dirtiness. So don't wait for life to be perfect to sell your solar company in order to have more joy and fulfillment. I need to have that first for myself and then help as many people as possible. And that was something very new that I'd never even thought about doing. And then I threw it up on the website, to find more joy and fulfillment despite life's dirtiness in myself and others and with our core values. And having the clarity on there, it attracted a ton of people. And then really defining like, how am I going to achieve that? And I broke it down to 2 pillars. For joy and fulfillment, pillar number 1 is mental health or mindset, right? You have people with a lot of stuff and worldly possessions that aren't happy and vice versa. So it's really perspective, mental health, and mindset. So if you go into one of our Dirty Dough stores, before you even walk into the store, you'll see on the windows, it says, we care about your feelings. And then you walk in, it says the inside matters most. And all of our cookies embody life in that they're kind of dirty, messy on the outside, but all the goodness is in the inside. That's why we do these multi-layered and stuffed cookies. And then aside from that, we started a nonprofit to build mental health wellness centers in K through 12 schools to educate kids on identifying emotions and how to regulate those. And that was a big piece of me getting passionate about it for my personal selfishness, I guess. But surprisingly, it really attracted a lot of people that I was out and upfront with what I wanted to do. And then the second pillar to find more joy and fulfillment was, for me, it's been about entrepreneurship. And so it's how do I empower others through entrepreneurship by lowering the barrier of entry, lowering the cost, the time, the energy that it takes to manage something. So I think that was very, very vital in my growth personally, my desire to get my ass kicked every day for the last 3 years, and to keep rolling with the punches, because I attached it to something that I feel is a higher purpose. So anyways, very, very pivotal to me. And if somebody else hasn't gone through that exercise of what matters and seeking help and asking other people, what are my core values, and writing your own obituary and all those different activities, and really lasering in what the legacy is that you want to leave behind, man, it just had so much clarity to your decision making.
I love the idea that all the good stuff is on the inside, and it doesn't matter how messy you look on the outside. And reflective inside of cookies. What a cool thing, and what a great way to tie that together. And we really appreciate those insights. Your brand is rocking and rolling. I mean, you guys are taking off, and it's amazing how many folks we have on here and we talk to, and we have different stories and things that come about, and it's rare that we talk to a founder who is really attaching those type of values, because we talk to a lot of people that say I work day and night, right? I mean, that's your classic, that's just your entrepreneur. I mean, and that's your founder, and that's what they do. But really cool to hear that the culture that you've built for yourself is what permeates the entire brand, and that's truly what makes a business strong, is that culture. So what a cool story, Bennett. Congratulations to you. I think it's pretty obvious this is going to be a win, not a bust, for the franchise that you guys have created. And yeah, man, we really appreciate your time. What an awesome story. And I think it's safe to say pretty soon, in the next year or two, you're going to see a Dirty Dough location in your city, right? I mean, you guys are getting everywhere.
We're expanding. We're in 20 states right now, which makes the logistics a little bit harder. But as we start filling in the gaps, it'll get a little bit easier. But yeah, by the end of the year, we should end the year with about 130 locations opened.
Outstanding. Congratulations. Really exciting stuff. And I mean, how can you go wrong with cookies? It's the best. And we wish you nothing but the best and success moving forward. We appreciate you. Thanks, everybody, for listening. This has been another episode of Franchise or Bust. Check out Dirty Dough if you get the chance. And if you're a prospective franchisee, this one sounds like a no-brainer. So obviously reach out, because Bennett's looking to grow. No stopping you. Isn't that right?
Exactly. Thank you.
Sugar wins.
Sugar wins. That's right. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you on the next Franchise or Bust.